Coming up on Valley View News, Lakers fans take to the streets celebrating the first championship in 10 years. Plus, how virtual learning is negatively affecting students and what Prop 18 means for young voters.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Amanda Alvarado.
And I'm Ryan Ketchum in the Digital Media Center. The Los Angeles Lakers are world champs again. They defeated the Miami Heat in Game 6 of the NBA Finals Sunday. Finals MVP and four-time NBA champ LeBron James had a triple-double in the win.
To be a part of this is something that I'll be able to talk about, and my grandkids and kids will be able to talk about that their pawpaw or their dad played for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Co-champ Anthony Davis had 19 points and 15 rebounds. The Lakers' last title was in 2010 when Kobe Bryant led the team to beat the Celtics. The championship was played in the Orlando bubble. This 17th title ties the Lakers with their rivals, the Boston Celtics, for the most NBA titles. Here's what some fans had to say after learning of the Lakers' big win.
I knew that one day that they're going to win, so I always, kept my commitment as a fan to watching the Lakers, and then watching them win the championship this year was something really astonishing to me, especially the times that we win right now. That's something that I feel Los Angeles really needed.
The fact that the Lakers won a championship after Kobe's death, it really hits home for everybody. It hits home for all Laker fans around the world, I feel like, because Kobe is bigger than basketball for a lot of people. I don't know, he's like a big part of my life. So for LeBron and like the rest of the Laker team, to do this for him, it's a really sentimental moment for everybody.
I'm a huge Laker fan. I'm actually from the Bay Area, so we drove out here right after the Lakers won last night. I'm here because, when I was a kid growing up, I got to see the Lakers win all the time. But, like I said, I'm from the Bay Area. Now I'm an adult and I get to see the Lakers win, so I'm here. I wanted to be here.
Sunday, an estimated 100,000 demonstrators marched through Beverly Hills to support the people of Armenia. One protester says they won't stop until their message is clear and heard.
The people want peace, and they made it clear to the international community, who has been remaining silent in terms of the violence that have been occurring within the region.
Azerbaijan and Armenia are clashing over a territory called Nagorno-Karabakh. Hundreds have been killed and wounded. In addition to protesting, supporters are collecting donations to send back to Armenia. Kim Kardashian West donated $1 million to the Glendale-based Armenian Fund. Mayor Eric Garcetti tweeted that he stands with Armenia.
More than 40 LA County children were diagnosed with a rare COVID-19 related disease. The CDC says they suffer from a multi-system inflammatory syndrome known as MIS-C. Symptoms include fever, stomach pain, vomiting, diarrhea, rashes, bloodshot eyes, exhaustion, and inflamed body parts. Nationwide, more than 1,000 children are affected and 20 children have died. Officials say the syndrome first appeared in adults last June. Meanwhile, LA County has better than 280,000 COVID-19 cases. Nearly 7,000 people have died.
Virtual learning is proving to be less beneficial than in-person classes for some students. Valley View News reporter Liliana Ramirez visits an elementary school for more details.
Any questions about the stuff we're doing in language arts?
Virtual learning is still taking place at many schools around the world because of the global pandemic. At Armenta Elementary School in North Hollywood,
It's called online.
5th grade teacher Morris McCormick says online instruction is the hardest way to teach students.
The lack of computer literacy in the students, probably even more that same lack of computer literacy with parents and their ability to help their children, if they can even be there to help their children.
Mother of 3 Monica Flores' son is being taught online. Flores prefers her son to be taught face-to-face with his teacher. She says online learning isn't effective. It only distracts her son from paying attention.
Even though I try my best to have him at a quiet space by himself, there's so many distractions for them.
Teachers also say learning online doesn't provide the same benefits a student receives from in-person instruction. Armenta Elementary's principal Renee Ramirez says students need to learn social skills. Social skills are missed with online learning.
The students are missing out on that social nexus that they form with their classmates and their teacher.
The district is reinforcing social-emotional learning to help the children cope with emotional distress during the pandemic. It is still unclear when in-person learning will begin. In North Hollywood, I'm Liliana Ramirez reporting for Valley View News.
The Senate Judiciary Committee started meeting Monday to consider the nomination of Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. It's the first of 4 hearings. She's currently a judge in the 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals.
I am deeply honored by the confidence that you have placed in me. And I am so grateful to you and the First Lady, to the Vice President and the Second Lady.
If appointed, she'll succeed the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The Judiciary panel includes 22 members, 12 Republicans and 10 Democrats. California Senator Kamala Harris got to question Judge Barrett. Harris participated remotely from her Senate office. Barrett is a known conservative, and Democrats fear she'll vote to end the Affordable Care Act. She's also expected to vote to strip away abortion rights. If confirmed by the full Senate, the conservative majority expands to 6-3.
The second presidential debate was canceled after President Trump tested positive for COVID earlier this month. Now the presidential candidates are working on doing their own town halls. The Biden campaign has a town hall with ABC News. It will be moderated by George Stephanopoulos. This is after President Trump refused to have a virtual debate. The Trump campaign plans a town hall with NBC News and Savannah Guthrie. That's on the condition that Trump tests negative for COVID-19. The White House Deputy Communications Director says President Trump is ready to debate.
And his doctors have cleared him for participating in public engagements. They've said he's no longer a risk for transmission.
Both town halls will be outdoors.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he was used out of context in a Trump campaign ad, and it was also done without his permission. The ad is about President Trump's response to the pandemic and has Fauci speaking.
President Trump tackled the virus head on, as leaders should.
I can't imagine that anybody could be doing more.
Fauci says at the time he was speaking broadly about the federal efforts against COVID-19, and he says he's never publicly endorsed a political candidate during his time in public service.
President Donald Trump claims he is no longer at risk of transmitting the COVID-19 virus. He still won't say when he last tested negative for the virus. Some medical experts are questioning Trump's declaration that he's not contagious. Trump attended a rally in Florida Monday and is expected to travel for the rest of the campaign.
I've been tested totally negative. I'm going to be out in Florida tomorrow working very hard because this is an election we have to win. This is the most important election of our lives.
The Trump campaign didn't say if any additional safety measures are taking place to prevent the spread of the virus.
Twitter says it's cracking down on tweets that spread false information leading up to the presidential election. Sunday, President Donald Trump had another one of the tweets flagged. Twitter hit his post claiming it was spreading misleading and potentially harmful information about COVID-19. Twitter also said it won't let Trump or Joe Biden declare winning the election without official double verification.
2 voting reform propositions are on the ballot this election. Reporter Bryce Wayne breaks down one proposition that could change the voting age, Prop 18.
17-year-olds in California may be able to vote in primary elections if Proposition 18 passes, although they'll need to turn 18 by the time of the general election to participate. Some 17-year-olds, like Joshua Sims, don't think they should be allowed to vote.
I think we are not mature enough, and when you turn 18 or 17, you're truly not an adult. So I think you need to first mature.
Ready, go. Sims's view on his own maturity differs from some high school teachers. For instance, English teacher John Purcell says if a 17-year-old is paying attention to the primary election, then they're probably mature enough to vote.
If you're of that age and you're politically aware, and to the point that you're going to go ahead and register at 17 to vote in a primary, I think they should let you have at it.
Some Prop 18 opponents say giving a vote to a legal minor means just another vote that reflects the votes of their parents or teachers. Purcell says anyone who works with 17-year-olds would know that's not true.
That's someone who doesn't really know 17-year-olds. I mean, they don't typically do whatever their teachers or their parents tell them. At 17, they have their own mind and they're gonna use it.
17-year-olds' voting rights aren't the only voting rights on the ballot this year in California. Prop 17 would allow ex-convicts to vote while on parole. For Valley View News, I'm Bryce Wayne.
A CNN and Edison research survey of the election officials in 36 states show that more than 7.3 million people have already voted in the general election. Democrat voters outnumber Republicans among the early voters. Pre-election day ballots cast across the country are expected to rise quickly as the November 3rd election approaches. This isn't a predictor of the election outcome. It just shows that some Republicans prefer to vote in person on Election Day.
A fake voter drop box labeled as official has been removed. It was placed outside the Castaic Church in LA. The church's pastor used Facebook to encourage his congregation to drop their ballots off in the box. But the Los Angeles County Registrar's Office says the box was not part of the 400 official voter drop boxes in Los Angeles County. The church pastor Cook hasn't responded to media inquiries. Voters can track their ballots using the Where's My Ballot option on the Secretary of State's website.
More to come on Valley View News. How the coronavirus affected a local bakery and gyms reopen with new COVID protocols.
Coming up on Valley View News, a community fridge offers free food to people in need. Plus, what Proposition 17 means for ex-cons on parole. And a CSUN student promotes exercise through Instagram.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Amanda Alvarado.
And I'm Ryan Ketchum in the Digital Media Center.
This election year will look different. More than 21 million ballots will be mailed to LA County registered voters. This is partly because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Most ballots will be received by the end of this week. Other counties started the vote by process mail about 2 weeks ago. Absentee ballots are required to be mailed no later than the 29th. Voting centers will be open for people who want to vote in person. In the past couple of decades, a few states have voted by mail. About 72% of their voters mailed in their ballots.
Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti withdrew his endorsement of a county district attorney Jackie Lacey. Garcetti now endorses George Gascon. The switch comes as many Californians want criminal justice reform. Lacey spent most of her second term declining to prosecute officers in shootings of unarmed men. Gascon also didn't prosecute some officer shootings during his 8 years as San Francisco's district attorney. But his record of using restorative justice programs rather than incarcerations led to endorsements from progressives like Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders.
Protesters demonstrated in the front of the home of Amazon owner Jeff Bezos in Beverly Hills. It was organized by the Congress of Essential Workers. On October 1st, Amazon announced that almost 20,000 employees tested positive for the coronavirus. The protesters want higher wages, free health care, environmental reform, and most importantly, improvements in the way the company handles the pandemic.
California wildfires burned more than 4 million acres in 1 year. That's a record and double the previous record of 1.67 million acres burned 2 years ago. Spokesman for the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, Scott McLean, says the 4 million mark is mind-boggling. There have been 8,200 wildfires since the beginning of the year. The most destructive fires were in Northern California, where the mountains have plenty of dry trees along with strong winds.
A community fridge is now available in the San Fernando Valley. Community fridges are becoming popular in the LA area. Valley View News reporter Liliana Ramirez explains how the outdoor appliances are helping people in need.
The San Fernando Valley has its first community fridge in North Hills. The fridge is supported by the community. It's a resource for anyone needing food. The community donates supplies. Co-founder Monica Lloyd says she wants to help those in need.
Our Valley residents matter. Our 10,000 is counted in the mass number of all of those that are experiencing homelessness in Los Angeles. And I wanted to be that beacon of light, that advocate for the individuals that are here in the San Fernando Valley.
The fridge stays fully stocked thanks to plenty of donors dropping off food. Anything is welcome from canned food to hygiene products. The fridge also has a QR code. Donors can scan to see what the fridge has in stock and is in need. Founder Jeff Holmes says anyone is welcome to get food.
Those who are experiencing homelessness, and then single mothers, those who are who really could use that extra resource. In theory, anyone could come by and take what they need.
Community fridges need business sponsors. Sponsors permit the plugging in and covering of electricity expenses. Toyin's Fashion African Market sponsors the fridge.
I see people come in very early in the morning. I see some people at night, but it's a steady pace. People come in at their own, it's comfortable for them to come in and just basically shop for free with dignity.
The founders plan on expanding the fridges around the San Fernando Valley. In North Hills, I'm Liliana Ramirez reporting for Valley View News.
After testing positive for COVID-19 last week, President Trump was released from Walter Reed Medical Center. Trump tweeted Monday that he wanted to go back to the White House. The head of Trump's medical team, Dr. Sean Conley, said the president was doing better after getting steroid therapy to improve his blood oxygen levels.
Remdesivir works a little bit differently than the antibodies. We're maximizing all aspects of his care, attacking this virus, multi-pronged approach.
Last weekend, Trump released video message from the hospital. He was also taken out in an SUV to see his supporters. The attending physician at Walter Reed, James Phillips, said the drive-by put everybody in the vehicle in danger for political theater. It's still unknown if Trump will be able to participate in next week's debate with Joe Biden.
World leaders are quickly reacting to President Donald Trump testing positive for the coronavirus. Vladimir Putin sent Trump a telegram wishing him a fast recovery. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson sent him best wishes to Trump and Melania through a tweet. Johnson was hospitalized for a week in April after contracting the virus. Some of the other leaders who reached out to Trump include Prime Minister Mark Rutte and President of the European Council and the Chief of the World Health Organization.
President Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, tested positive for COVID-19 Monday morning. 2 of her deputies also tested positive. These reports come from 4 days ago after President Trump said on Twitter he and the First Lady Melania Trump received a positive test result after the last week's presidential debate. McEnany tweeted she tested negative every day since Thursday and says she has no symptoms. She will begin her isolation and the press staff is working remotely.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she does not get any updates on Trump's health. Pelosi is second in the line of succession behind Mike Pence and still does not get notified. She says she gets informed of the president's coronavirus status through the media.
Very early this morning, the news came that the president and the first lady had tested positive for the virus. I pray for them all the time, including last night, so this was just a continuation of more prayers for their safety and their health and well-being.
Pelosi wants Trump's doctors to provide trustworthy information to the public. She says she prays that the president is in good health and has a speedy recovery.
U.S. Attorney General William Barr decided to self-quarantine even though he tested negative on 4 COVID-19 tests. Barr was in close contact with White House officials who did test positive for the virus. Barr was seen at the Rose Garden event late last month without a mask and shaking hands with people in the crowd. He's expected to return to the Department of Justice later this week.
In Salt Lake City, Utah, the candidates are preparing for the vice presidential debate. Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris will now stand 12 feet apart instead of the originally planned 7 feet. The Biden campaigns abandoned additional safety protocols after a COVID-19 outbreak hit the White House and sent President Trump to the hospital. Biden's campaign also wanted both candidates to stand during the debate, but Republicans rejected the idea. Pence remains COVID-19 negative.
Ride-sharing app Uber and Lyft are working together on the November elections. Both companies spent $100 million to overturn a state law requiring that their drivers be listed as employees. The AB5 law requires the 2 companies to pay contract workers as regular employees. Prop 22, if it passes, will make Uber and Lyft drivers independent contractors. Reports say both companies will have to pay $392 million in annual payroll taxes if the proposition doesn't pass. That will lead to price increases. A no vote will also deny drivers protection and benefits. The ride-sharing app claims that most drivers prefer to be independent contractors.
With all of the excitement from the approaching presidential election, local elections and propositions might not be on everybody's mind. Reporter Bryce Wayne breaks down one important state proposition, Proposition 17.
Voting reform is an important issue to many Californians. Proposition 17 would restore voting rights to felons and former convicts on parole. Retired parole officer Micah Sims says they should be able to vote after they've proven themselves as a functioning member of society.
I think if felons have an extended time after they've completed their parole, if they have any, or their probation, let's say extended time of 5 years where they have no new offenses, I think they should be eligible to vote.
Meanwhile, some Proposition 17 supporters say being on parole isn't a punishment. Instead, parole is supposed to reintroduce ex-convicts back into the world. But some opponents think ex-cons can't be trusted while on parole. Yet Jeff Mack, who has familial connections to felons, says every American deserves the right to vote.
I believe that if you're done serving your time, then you're a member in society again. You get all the pros and the cons of being a citizen.
If Prop 17 passes, California will join 19 states that grant paroled ex-convicts the right to vote. 2 of those states, Connecticut and Vermont, allow felons to vote from prison. Mack says he hopes to see California do the same.
And without their ability to vote, I feel that they are not able to put someone into office that could accurately represent them.
Prop 17 isn't the only voting reformation on the ballot this year in California. Prop 18 will change the rules for 17-year-olds hoping to vote in the primaries. For Valley View News, I'm Bryce White.
More to come on Valley View News. Local soccer teams get the green light to practice again if they follow COVID-19 protocols. Also, a man encourages people to work out by social distancing on Instagram.
Coming up on Valley View News, a free pop-up learning center keeps children focused during school. Plus, how COVID-19 is affecting Halloween. And Chicano identity shared through the murals of East LA.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Amanda Alvarado.
And I'm Ryan Ketchum in the Digital Media Center.
President Trump didn't pay taxes for 10 years over a 15-year period, according to a New York Times report. Also, it shows he only paid $750 in federal income taxes the year he ran for president and his first year in office. Trump denies the allegations.
Totally fake news. No, actually, I paid tax, and you'll see that as soon as my tax returns. It's under audit. They've been under audit for a long time. The IRS does not treat me well.
The president apparently found multiple ways to reduce his tax bills. He reported heavy losses on his businesses. One reduction is from his appearance on the show The Apprentice. He claimed a $70,000 tax deduction for his hairstyling. Also, the president's daughter, Ivanka, helped reduce the family's tax burden by being paid more than $700,000 in consulting fees.
President Trump nominated Amy Coney Barrett as the new Supreme Court Justice. Trump says it's a very proud moment. Barrett succeeds the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Barrett said she will serve the people.
I clerked for Justice Scalia more than 20 years ago, but the lessons I learned still resonate. His judicial philosophy is mine too.
The nomination has opposition, however. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said that a vote for Barrett is a vote to strike down the Affordable Care Act. Democrats also oppose Barrett's stances on gun rights, immigration, and abortion. The timing of the nomination was criticized since it comes less than 2 months before the presidential election.
President Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden won't shake hands at the first presidential debate tomorrow night. COVID-19 has changed the way candidates will greet each other. Trump says he's excited.
I am. I do. I am looking very forward to the debate. Thank you, everybody.
The estimated 60 to 70 audience members will get tested for COVID-19 before it starts. Chris Wallace of Fox News moderates the 90-minute debate. It will focus on 6 topics.
A ballistics report in Breonna Taylor's case contradicts claims made by police about what happened in the March 13th shooting. The Kentucky State Police say the bullet that hit Louisville Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly could not be confirmed to have come from Taylor's boyfriend's gun. State Attorney General Daniel Cameron said the officers only carried .40 caliber guns. However, the report reveals that another officer involved, Brett Hankinson, was issued a 9mm gun. Hankinson was indicted on 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment. No one has been charged for the death of Taylor.
This school year brings many new challenges to students because of COVID-19. Some groups are helping students adapt to virtual learning. Karina Gutierrez reports on a church in Chatsworth that's doing its part to help students in the community.
A pop-up learning center at Freedom Church is now open. Kids from kindergarten up to 8th grade are welcome. The Learning Center helps parents who are struggling with work and virtual learning, says Campus Director Vanessa Rodriguez.
We knew that during this time right now, financially parents and families are hurting, and we wanted just to provide a resource that was absolutely free with no strings attached.
The church works with LAUSD's Grab and Go to provide meals for the kids throughout the day. A maximum of 40 students are accepted. A background check is required for each volunteer. Learning Center lead Rosa Milian says the program follows CDC guidelines. They disinfect and wear masks.
So the way we are practicing social distancing is by having the tables apart, by 6 feet apart, and having one student per table.
What time are we off at school?
The Learning Center does not offer a personal one-on-one assistance, but they do help students with any help needed. Volunteer Cindy Brandel has a daughter attending the Learning Center. She says this is an answer to her prayer because both her daughters can now concentrate.
When we found out about this place, I was able to bring them if they could stay separated. The little one who really needed to be active all the time is getting that.
The Learning Center will continue until schools reopen. Reporting from Chatsworth, I'm Karina Gutierrez for Valley View News.
There's a record number of wildfires taking place in California. More than 3.7 million acres have been burned so far. In Northern California, the Glass Fire burned 11,000 acres. It's 0% contained. The Bobcat Fire in Southern California burned 176 square miles. It's at 65% containment. These are only 2 of the 75 fires on the West Coast. Meanwhile, red flag warnings remain in effect for the Bobcat Fire. Officials fear it may spread.
Coronavirus cases are declining in Orange County, but OC will stay in the red tier for 3 weeks before it moves to the less restrictive orange tier. Officials think trends are pointing to easing rules. Supervisor Lisa Bartlett says the trend is encouraging, but more analysis is needed. Orange County had 165 new coronavirus cases and 10 additional deaths. Meanwhile, their number of intensive care cases dropped from 50 to 47 cases.
Students who attended in-person classes at Cal State University Long Beach must now quarantine after 5 students tested positive for COVID-19. 4 of those students stayed in the university dorms. In-person classes have been canceled for the next 2 weeks. All students living on campus will also be tested for the virus. The quarantine affects more than 3,000 students who attended in-person classes this fall.
Yom Kippur started Monday at sundown. The holiday was celebrated outdoors and online because of COVID-19. The LA County's Public Health Service prohibits indoor religious services due to COVID-19. Members of LA's Jewish community stood out at the corners of the synagogues last Sunday as a symbol of hope and renewal. President Donald Trump says Yom Kippur serves as a reminder of the faith Americans have kept the past few months because of the challenges from COVID-19.
As the spooky season approaches, the LA County Department of Public Health released a list of recommendations on how to stay safe during Halloween. Valley View News reporter Nikiko Burnett spoke to a Halloween store owner who managed to get his loyal customers involved with helping his sick child.
The coronavirus pandemic won't stop people from celebrating Halloween. Ryan Goldman, owner of Phantom Halloween Store, says after 7 months, he's starting to see a COVID fatigue set in.
We're now September, turning in October. People are kind of wanting to do what they want to do at this point.
Mary Jane and her little sister Alexandra want to dress up for Halloween. They're not happy with how COVID is affecting their plans.
They say it's canceled, but I still want to go outside. So I'm gonna ask if I can go outside. Yeah, it's kind of like boring. It's like you can't do nothing.
Phantom Halloween stores have been in Goldman's family for generations. They're open year-round. The store gives back to those who have helped his family.
I have a disabled son, And Children's Hospital, as far as I'm concerned, saved his life.
In the past 3 years, his stores have raised more than $50,000 for Children's Hospital Los Angeles.
It's our give back charity. It makes us feel good about what we're doing, trying to make this world a better place.
Goldman says his next goal is to donate $100,000 in 2021. Reporting from West Hills, I'm Nikiko Burnett for Valley View News.
More to come on Valley View News. We show how the Chicano movement showcased its identity through murals in East Los Angeles.